You're holding your newborn for the first time, and out of nowhere, a thought flashes through your mind. What if you drop them right now, on purpose? Your stomach turns. Your hands tighten around the baby like they might betray you. You didn't choose that thought. It chose you. Postpartum intrusive thoughts. Your brain just handed you the most horrifying image it could find in the one moment you were supposed to feel pure love. This is called an intrusive thought, and it's one of the most common, least talked about experiences in new parenthood. Up to 90% of new mothers report having unwanted, disturbing thoughts about harming their baby. Your brain is flooded with new hormones, sleep deprivation, and a primal threat detection system that's suddenly responsible for keeping a fragile new life alive, so it starts scanning for every possible danger, including the ones that don't exist. People assume a thought like that means something is deeply wrong with you as a parent when it means the opposite. Therapists who treat postpartum OCD use the thought's horror as the diagnostic clue. The more it disturbs you, the less likely you'd ever act on it. Treatment usually involves CBT and sometimes medication to calm an overactive alarm system, not to fix your love for your child. You're not a danger to your baby. You are someone whose brain is working overtime to protect a life that suddenly means everything. Harm OCD. You're cutting vegetables for dinner. The knife catches the light for half a second, and a flash hits you, stabbing the person standing next to you. It's gone as fast as it came, but your hands are already shaking. You set the knife down like it's radioactive. You start avoiding the kitchen when anyone else is home. This is called harm OCD, and it's built entirely from thoughts that disgust the person having them. Your brain's alarm system, centered in the amygdala, flags violent imagery as a threat, but it never sends the "this isn't real, you're safe" signal back. So the thought loops and loops, demanding proof you're not dangerous. People joke that everyone has weird thoughts sometimes. They do. But for the estimated 80 million people living with OCD globally, these thoughts don't fade. They hijack entire days. Treatment is exposure and response prevention therapy, which slowly teaches your brain to sit with the discomfort instead of performing rituals to neutralize it. You're not a hidden threat to anyone. You are someone whose brain is so committed to keeping people safe that it started attacking you instead. Sexual intrusive thoughts. You're at a family dinner, half listening to a conversation, when an unwanted, taboo sexual image flashes through your mind about someone at the table. You feel sick instantly. You can't look anyone in the eye for the rest of the meal. You start replaying the thought, searching for proof it means something about who you secretly are. This is called a sexual intrusive thought, and it's one of the most isolating symptoms a person can experience because almost nobody admits to having them. Your brain's threat detection circuitry misfires, tagging something deeply incompatible with your values as if it were a genuine impulse. Psychologists call this ego dystonic, meaning the thought directly conflicts with who you actually are, which is exactly why it causes so much distress. People who don't understand this assume the thought reveals a hidden desire. The opposite is true. Studies on OCD consistently show these thoughts cause the most distress in people who would never act on them. Specialized ERP therapy, sometimes combined with medication, helps the brain stop treating the thought like a five-alarm fire. You're not secretly a predator. You are someone whose mind generated its worst-case scenario, and the fact that it horrified you is the evidence you needed. Relationship OCD. You're lying next to your partner at 2 a.m. and a thought surfaces, what if you don't actually love them? What if this whole relationship is a lie you're telling yourself? Panic floods your chest. You start mentally replaying every moment of affection you've ever felt, searching for proof it was real. By morning, you're exhausted from a war that happened entirely inside your own head. This is called relationship OCD. It takes your brain's obsessive doubt loop and points it directly at the person you love most. The mechanism is identical to other forms of OCD, a misfiring alarm system demanding certainty about something that, by nature, can never be 100% certain. People mistake this for just being a commitment phobe or not really being ready. In reality, the more someone matters to you, the more fuel our OCD has to work with. Treatment again centers on ERP, learning to tolerate uncertainty about love instead of endlessly trying to prove it. You're not falling out of love. You are someone whose mind picked the highest stakes target it could find and convinced you the doubt was truth, religious and moral scrupulosity. You're praying or just sitting quietly with your own thoughts when a blasphemous or morally horrifying thought cuts through. Instantly, you feel like you've committed some unforgivable act just by thinking it. You start praying again, longer this time, trying to undo something you never actually did. Some people repeat phrases internally for hours, terrified that stopping means they've accepted the thought as true. This is called scrupulosity, a form of OCD that attaches itself to a person's moral or religious identity. The brain's obsessive machinery doesn't care what you value most, it simply finds your most sacred belief and aims directly at it. People often mistake this for a crisis of faith or a sign of secret immorality when it's neither. It's a documented presentation of OCD that responds to the same ERP-based treatment used for every other obsession, learning to let the thought pass without performing a mental ritual to cancel it out. You're not losing your faith or your morality. You are someone whose mind weaponized the thing you care about most, precisely because you care about it so much. Health anxiety, intrusive thoughts. You feel a small, unfamiliar twinge in your side. Within seconds, your mind has built an entire timeline: what it could be, how bad it could get, who would have to be told. You search your symptoms online at 1 a.m., and every result confirms your worst fear. By the time you fall asleep, you've already grieved a diagnosis no doctor has given you. This is called health anxiety, sometimes formally diagnosed as illness anxiety disorder. Your brain's threat system treats uncertainty about your body the same way it would treat an actual present danger, flooding you with cortisol in response to a sensation that's probably nothing. People dismiss this as hypochondria or attention seeking. But for the estimated 4 to 5% of the population who experience clinical level health anxiety, the fear is genuinely physical, not performed. Cognitive behavioral therapy, specifically designed for health anxiety, helps retrain the brain to tolerate physical uncertainty without spiraling into catastrophe. You're not being dramatic about your body. You are someone whose alarm system can't tell the difference between a real threat and an unknown one. False memory, intrusive thoughts. You're replaying a normal afternoon from years ago, and suddenly your brain inserts a detail that feels real but never happened. Did you say something cruel to a friend? Did you do something you can't quite verify? You call them to ask, even though some part of you knows it's absurd. They don't remember anything because there's nothing to remember, but the doubt doesn't leave. This is called a false memory obsession, a lesser-known form of OCD where the target isn't a thought about the future, it's doubt about the past. Your brain's memory-checking system gets stuck in a loop, treating an ordinary memory gap as evidence of a hidden crime. People assume if you're unsure, something must have happened. In reality, OCD specifically targets memory because uncertainty about the past feels like it should be solvable, and your brain can't stop trying to solve it. Treatment again relies on ERP, learning to tolerate not knowing for certain instead of compulsively seeking reassurance. You're not hiding a secret from yourself. You are someone whose memory-checking alarm got stuck in the on position over nothing. Existential and identity-intrusive thoughts. You're doing something completely ordinary, washing dishes, sitting in traffic, when a thought drops in sideways. What if none of this is real? What if you don't actually exist the way you think you do? Your chest tightens. The room suddenly feels foreign, like you're watching yourself from slightly outside your own body. You try to shake it off, but for a few unsettling minutes, even your own hands look unfamiliar. This is called an existential intrusive thought, and it often shows up alongside a brief, passing wave of depersonalization. Your brain's sense of self network, which usually runs quietly in the background, briefly glitches under stress, anxiety, or even just overthinking. People assume this means something is seriously wrong with their mind. For most people, it's a temporary misfire, not a breakdown. Grounding techniques and, when frequent, therapy that targets anxiety and dissociation can help the brain settle back into a stable sense of self. You're not losing your grip on reality. You are someone whose mind briefly stepped outside itself while trying to make sense of something too big to fully hold. Suicidal, intrusive thoughts. This one is different from the others, and it matters that you hear that clearly. You're going about a normal day, and out of nowhere, a thought about not wanting to exist flashes through your mind. It scares you. It might even disgust you, the same way a violent or taboo thought would. For some people, this is an unwanted, ego-dystonic intrusive thought, identical in mechanism to the others in this video. A thought that pops up uninvited and conflicts completely with how they actually feel about their life. But unlike the others, this is also a category where it's never safe to assume it's just OCD without checking. If a thought like this comes with a plan, a timeline, or a pull toward acting on it, that's not the same as an intrusive thought, and it deserves immediate support from a crisis line or mental health professional, not just psychoeducation. If it's a flash that horrifies you and passes, similar to the other thoughts in this video, that pattern is well documented and treatable the same way. Through therapy that targets obsessive thinking, not through silence and shame. Either way, the right next step is the same. Tell someone, a doctor, a therapist, a crisis line, someone who can help you figure out which one you're experiencing. You're not weak for having the thought, and you're not alone in not knowing what to do with it. Symmetry and just right intrusive thoughts. You walk past a picture frame that's tilted half a degree, and a thought hits you with the force of an alarm. It has to be fixed right now, or something is going to feel wrong all day. You straighten it. It still doesn't feel right. You straighten it again and again until your fingers are doing more work than your eyes can even verify. This isn't about danger. It's about a feeling of wrongness that won't let go until something feels exactly right. This is called a just right obsession, a form of OCD that isn't built from fear but from an unbearable sense that something is incomplete or off. Your brain's error detection system, the same circuitry that normally tells you when something's actually broken, fires constantly over things that were never broken in the first place. People assume this is just being a perfectionist or liking things tidy. It isn't a preference, it's a compulsion that can consume hours of a single day over a frame, a sentence, a step pattern on a sidewalk. ERP therapy again helps here, teaching the brain to tolerate the discomfort of incomplete without performing the fix. You're not uptight or controlling. You are someone whose brain demands a kind of certainty that the world was never built to give. Every single thought in this video has one thing in common. It disturbed the person who had it. That disgust, that panic, that instant need to push the thought away isn't evidence of who you are. It's evidence of who you aren't. Intrusive thoughts don't reveal secret desires or hidden character flaws. They're misfires in a threat detection system that's trying too hard to protect you. You didn't choose the thought, and you don't have to believe it either.